All right. Welcome in to Carps Corner. And got a lot going on as we head into the weekend here. Should be a big weekend, hot weekend if you're living in the Midwest. And NFL training camps fully underway on the precipice of Big Ten Media Days, finished up ACC Media Days. We've got NFL camps going on, college football camps getting ready to start. So a lot of great stuff if you're into football. And I never like to wish away the summer. I always want football to be here. And like many of you, I love college football. I love the NFL. I love the Buckeyes. But I don't ever want to wish the summer away. But if you're playing college or professional football, or even heck, high school football right now, your summer is basically done. NFL, like I said, already reported. College, you may have another week and change. So high school, you usually get, maybe a week off before you head into camp. But you know what? It is what it is. And you're getting rolling. You love it. You can only play football for so long. It's not a lifetime sport. And so enjoy it while you get a chance to do it, anybody out there. And if you're done playing and you can't play anymore, well, you know what? Sit back and watch and enjoy the ride. So there's some NFL news, some college football news, some big contract signings. I want to start out with this, though. And, wore this guy for a reason today. My dad played for the Giants from 81 to 85. And one of my favorite memories is the recollections of him, running around, and he had, the sweet old school Giants logo on. And they wore the whites, the away whites with the white pants, white jerseys on the road or on the road. And then at home, they wore the white pants with the blue jerseys. Classic, clean look. And then on the side of the helmet, they had that all caps block Giants. And that is going to be their throwback helmet this year. My heart is warmed because I love the Giants throwbacks, that all white road jerseys, a clean look with the blue hat. And then the Giants just slapped there right on the side with a white face mask. Looks really, really good, man. And maybe that's nostalgia for me, knowing that that's the Giants that I grew up and watched, and watching Lawrence Taylor and Phil Simms, after my dad had left, and getting a chance to kind of see those guys. But that is the Giants that I like to remember. That is the big blue that I have. And I know, they won a couple Super Bowls with the original uniforms with the NY script and the gray pants and more of a navy feel. The old school royal blue, the big blue to me, is really, really a classic look. So excited that the Giants are going to be rocking that again this year. So feeling really good about that situation. And hopefully they'll have a little more success. Hopefully this jersey will be able to bring Danny Dimes, a little more success and get him that contract extension, as the Giants, I believe, did not pick up his 5th-year rookie option. So some other news, like I said, we've got some transfer news. We've got some contract news. We're going to start here. Where do we want to go? You know what? We're going to start with this. My man, Pat McAfee, PMS, Pat McAfee show. Him and my dude, AJ, are on there. Fantastic. Doing an unbelievable job. They're on Sirius XM. They're on YouTube. Pat's doing WWE. You can see him all over the place, man. He has built a monster. And I appreciate him doing this because there's a lot of people that have been hammering these guys about the LIV tournament, hammering the golfers. I know we don't talk a lot of golf in here, and I'm not apt to sit here and just dive into golf because that's not something I think that really moves the needle. And I'm a tepid golf fan at best. I watch when the stars are playing. I watch when Tiger's playing. I watch when Phil's in contention. Like those things get me to the TV. And as of now, Tiger and Phil are both getting older, and I haven't really found anybody that really moves the needle. So the LIV PGA, friction has made golf more entertaining for me. And everybody has come down hammering these golfers about taking money from the Saudis. And look at what they've done. Look at their record, with media and, murders, and violence against women and human rights and all these different things. And all of that is true. Every one of those things I believe is true. And they're not a great nation, but they are a partner to the United States. And in 2010, I believe we sold them between 50 and 60 billion dollars in arms sales, the largest strategic arms sale ever in U.S. history. And it was because we'd have, quote, a more integrated fighting force. We're ever fighting beside the Saudis. You look at all the different countries that do business with them and everybody that's, in cahoots. And I'll throw this up here. Pat McAfee did a great job talking, with 3M and Facebook and Disney and all these different countries and companies and Fortune 500s that are willing to take oil But yeah, all of our vitriol is pointed at individual golfers. Like if you don't like what they're doing, then you need to really, and like what the Saudis stand for, don't just take it out on the golfers who are getting more money than anything else that they could ever get on the PGA. Why don't you take it out as well on some of these companies and that change your elected officials? You said that was in 2010. That was an Obama Biden administration, but we've been friends with the Saudis on a government basis for a long time. They provide a lot of our oil. They're one of our allies in the region. They're not good people. But why are we only singling out the golfers when they're doing something to better themselves and better their families? They get to work less and make a heck of a lot more. And people are upset about it because it's jeopardizing tradition. I get it. I understand it. But if not, 90% of people, if I said you got to work less and make more, and you know what, the money that you got probably didn't come from the best people in the world. You're like, all right, I get it. I'm not asking you to endorse them. I'm saying, hey, you can go take that money. You can do some good things with it. You can donate some of it. And at the end of the day, it's making it better for your family. But I'm glad Pat pointed this out, because we want to just turn all of our attention to visible celebrities and athletes, when in the reality, there's a ton of Fortune 500 companies, and the United States government has also been in bed with the Saudis for years. And so I have everybody talking to me about tradition and about, they're in it for the money. Yeah, they got paid a lot more. And Brooks Koepka came out, you know what? I work less and make more, and this is providing my family security into the future for future generations. And you know what? I get it. I can't tell you that I would have done anything different. I played, 4 or 5 years in the NFL, and like, hey, we're going to start a new league. You're going to get a chance to do this. We'll pay you 3 or 4 times what you could potentially make. All right. I have a limited lifespan doing this, smaller career arc. I'm going to take a shot at it. I'm going to go do it. And this is coming from someone whose dad played in the NFL and it was always a dream of mine, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm a moralist. Like, I believe in certain things for me. I'm not going to tell other people what to believe, but the money's coming from a source that funds a lot of different corporations and a lot of governments around the world, and we all buy their oil. So you know what, if you don't like it, then start buying, lean on your government officials so we produce more locally, or that we're going to more renewables, which, is happening anyway. But don't just sit here and pretend like the golfers are the worst people in the world, and they're the ones that ultimately should be punished more than anybody else, because they're just doing what just about everybody else ultimately would do. Let's put that in a box. Let's throw that away. Okay. NCAA came out now, and we'll do some college news first. Limitless transfers. I mean, crazy town, what we're talking about right now. So right now you got the transfer portal. They're tightening up the weeks. It's going to be a couple weeks after the season, couple weeks after spring ball, December to early January, and sometime like April, Mayish. So they'll be able to manage roster sizes easier. So I get that. I like that piece of legislation. I'm pro player. Get the players out there, allow them to move. And if they're not having success, get a one-time transfer. But now what the NCAA is doing is limitless transfers without penalty of sitting out. I believe the players should be able to have the opportunity, if it's not working out somewhere, to go somewhere else. But there is the piece of life of understanding just when things get difficult that you can't just turn and run. And so you may transfer once, get closer to home. Maybe your coach leaves. Maybe you thought, you liked this place, but you really didn't. Maybe they brought in a player who's just better than you, and you're not going to see the field. I get all of those things. I get them all. I understand that you're 17, 18-year-olds making these decisions. And so they're not always going to make them perfect. So you get a transfer. But to say you get limitless transfers without having to sit out, it's a consequence-free society. There are consequences for your actions. When you commit to something, there should be consequences to break that commitment. Maybe the first time I said, you get the mulligan, you get a do-over. But in life, you don't get a ton of do-overs. In scholastic sports at their genesis, and I know that we're far from this, are supposed to help develop well-rounded human beings, teach them discipline, teach them consequence, teach them the long-term payment, and then ultimately reward strategy, not an instant gratification microwave society. So the NCAA doing this, like I feel like now, since basically college football has come out and said, hey, you know what? You hear all the commissioners and the big time ADs, NCAA is done with football. We're moving on. We're going to have our own governing body here. And it's probably going to be in conjunction with the college football playoff. And that's how it's ultimately going to look. And, that's kind of going to be where we're going to be with it. But I feel like the NCAA now is like, all right, you want to do that? Here, I'm going to make this thing as big a dumpster fire as I possibly can. I'm just going to we're moving out of the house. We're getting evicted. You know what? We're leaving the dishwasher, refrigerator open, running the showers over the sink or over the side, leaving the sinks on, not flushing toilets, upper decking things, whatever, not cleaning leaf gutters, not doing any of the routine maintenance, letting grass die, who knows? But you're going to move into a mess. And that I feel like is what the NCAA is doing right now. Hey, we're done with it. We're washing our hands, Pontius Pilate style. Hey, big time football, you want to take it over? Here, you're inheriting a mess. Limitless transfers, consequence-free society, guys going 3, 4, 5 places over a 4 or 5 year career. I mean, limitless transfers, you can transfer after the season, you could transfer after spring ball. Heck, what's to stop you from 2-sport athlete playing football at one school and baseball at another and doing that multiple times? I mean, that's the reality of what would be able to happen. We're supposed to be teaching responsibility, supposed to be teaching that it's not an instant gratification world, that there are consequences. Like I said, I'm going to give you a mulligan. 17, 18-year-olds will make mistakes. Coaches will change. Situations will change. You should be able to transfer one time without penalty, but you should also have to learn how to stick it out and how to persevere and push through. And I referenced Terry McLaurin on this because Terry just signed a massive deal, $25 million per year deal with the Washington Redskins. 5-year player at Ohio State, Mr. Football in Indiana. And I asked him, what would you have done transferring? He goes, I probably would have transferred if I didn't have penalty. He goes, and I would have regretted it knowing how my life turned out now every single time. He goes, the struggle is what made me better. But Terry's a really high character kid, came from a great family, understood that if I just keep working, I keep doing things right, things will eventually turn for me. I know I sound like an old man, get off my lawn. I'm standing here on my soapbox, pounding the lectern. But I just believe that there should be some limitations on what you're able to do, because if not, without rules, there is chaos. I mean, I don't understand what the heck we're trying to achieve here. Limitless transfers. I mean, you might as well just feed my 5-year-old eat ice cream every meal because that's what he'd want to eat because he doesn't know any better. And so a lot of these kids, and I say kids, young men, Terry McLaurin came from a great home, quality parents, high quality individual. Not everybody can say that. And so they don't have the behavior modeled for them to be able to handle adverse situations. And so some of the behavior they've seen modeled is when things get tough, throw in the towel, walk, turn away, go somewhere else. And they continue to do that. Part of life, and this is the guys who I know who've come from tough backgrounds, who became great men from playing college football, great fathers, great husbands, productive members of society, whether or not they played in the NFL, is because they said college football forced them to learn discipline. It forced them to become better people. It forced them to be a better dad, to be a better husband, to understand that there's going to be times in life when things go wrong and things happen poorly, and you don't just cash in your chips and say, hey, I'm on to the next. It forces you to be a better person. So I hope that this doesn't go through. Gene Smith, talked to him on the radio Friday on my show. He laughed at it. He's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? There has to be some level of consequence to what we're trying to achieve in this world. All right. Now with that, we'll move on. I'll throw this up here. USC betting favorite, I believe, at the Westgate Casino to win the national championship, or receiving the most bets, not betting favorite, receiving the most bets, most money coming in on the Trojans. They're the most popular team right now. Now they're a pretty decent value coming in, and so that's going to play into it. Got a first-year coach, first-year quarterback who came with him, I will say, Jordan Addison coming in, Biletnikoff winning receiver. They have a lot of the talent around, and they should have a pretty easy path to be able to get to the playoff. They have a decent shot of winning the Pac-12. Now, that doesn't necessarily guarantee them a spot in the college football playoff. But if it's USC and you have that brand recognition, that brand notoriety, then yeah, I think you got a pretty darn good shot of getting in. And it makes a lot of sense. But there's a lot of things that they just dumped into a stew. And for any great soup, you got to let that thing simmer. You got to let the flavors mix and blend and percolate back and forth so that it doesn't just taste like a bunch of stuff put together. It tastes like one unified dish. And it takes time to be able to do that. And it may take more than just a spring and a training camp. And so I think Lincoln Riley's a great offensive mind. Saw some things last year at Oklahoma that struggled. Remember, Caleb Williams, he got benched for Spencer Rattler later in the year. He usurped Rattler, then came back, and then ultimately they put Rattler in for him, and then they're going back and forth. So it's not like he's a guaranteed surefire can't miss dude. And Lincoln Riley was struggling with him. And I think Lincoln Riley, as good offensive mind as he is, there's some head coaching deficiencies that he's got to figure out. And so he's still developing as a head coach. Oh, by the way, he's going to a new school. This isn't going to have the strength of Oklahoma behind him. They're not going to be selling out the Coliseum. Like, it's going to be a far different paradigm. Now, I think competition will probably be a little bit easier, but let's not forget. I mean, they still got Utah. There's still Oregon out there. UCLA is going to be better. They might not even win the South. I mean, Utah is defending Pac-12 champs. Like, they're going to pound the rock. And so you got to be good on defense. So that's where USC, I mean, they've got to come to play and they got to get it together. So while they may be the most popular bet out there at Westgate, still got some room to go. All right, let's go one more. Let's go to some college or NFL news now. And all of this, surprisingly, has Arizona Cardinal ties. Start out with a really, really feel-good story. J.J. Watt saw online. I'll throw this up here. So online, someone tweeted out, have a pair of J.J. Watt women's edition Reebok shoes, selling them for $80. Only worn them twice. They've got a J.J. Watt jersey, women's jersey they're putting out there, for $30, helping to pay for, family member, grandfather's funeral. Tag J.J. Watt in. J.J. Watt sees it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to help offset some of the costs. And as much as we dog professional athletes for all their shortcomings, because they have many, I've got a lot. You see some of the stuff, the accusations, you see Greg Hardy, some of the accusations, Deshaun Watson, you see clowns like Johnny Manziel running around. You see guys also like Shaquille O'Neal, who he'll go buy a family a new dishwasher. J.J. Watt paying for funerals and helping pay for funerals. And that, to me, is some of the best parts of humanity. So while I'm sitting here, get off my lawn, old man, I'm crazy, all this stuff, you see something like this and it restores your faith in humanity. The fact that J.J. Watt doesn't know these people at all. You know what he knows? They're J.J. Watt fans. And very rarely in life can you pay things back. It goes to the old Woody Hayes pretense, but you can always pay it forward. And congratulations to J.J. Watt. He's a expecting father to be this year, I believe, recently married. And so you start getting older in life, you see, hey, I've been blessed with great means and great opportunity. You find a way. Can I give a little back? Can I find a way to push a little to someone else? And no one's obligated to do that. And I will never criticize guys who don't, but I will always praise people that do. I'll never tell you what to do with your money. But when guys choose to do something like this and how they spend their time, talent, and treasure, that's important. It's very important. And J.J. Watt, man, salute you, sir. Thank you for being a quality human and a good steward of the gifts that you've ultimately been given. Another feel-good story. Guy who I'm cheering for, man. I think this is his sixth team. He's bounced around a lot, off season, hasn't played in a ton of games, former 10th overall pick to the Arizona Cardinals, got usurped the next year by Kyler Murray. But Cleveland is signing former first rounder, throw this up here, courtesy Adam Schefter, former first rounder, Josh Rosen. He's 25 years old. He's got a lot of talent. He had some attitude stuff, famously came out Said if he got drafted first overall by Cleveland, I think he said he wouldn't play for him. Goes to Arizona, terrible season. Obviously, they draft Kyler and things move on. So the irony is now that he's in Cleveland, he probably beg, borrow, and steal to get that job. I think he's going to be the third, fourth quarterback. They've got Josh Dobbs, Jacoby Brissett. We'll see. I mean, obviously what happens with Deshaun Watson, but I think he's their insurance policy. And I think he could end up maturing into a good backup and being able to play. But the irony is he was in that same class with Baker Mayfield, who's now in Carolina, Sam Darnold, who was a first-round pick of the Jets, who's in Carolina, and then the two guys, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, two of the later guys, they've been the ones that have fared the best. And so this is kind of all swirling around. It's amazing how the world can kind of turn and the paths that can ultimately take. But I'm cheering for Josh Rosen. I want to see guys have success. They meander around in the wilderness. Sometimes you just got to mature a little bit. You get more familiar with the pro game, and congratulations to you. You ultimately get it done. And then lastly, I want to sit here and talk, as I'll throw this up, courtesy Albert Breer. Arizona Cardinals pay Kyler Murray. $105 million fully guaranteed, 5-year, $230.5 million, 161 against injury protection. I mean, it's a very robust deal. Makes him the second highest paid player quarterback in the NFL. Is he worth that? I don't know. I think Kyler Murray somewhere at the high end of quarterbacks, maybe around 5 or 6, probably more like 7 or 8, low end 13, 14, maybe a 15, somewhere in that range, depending on how he's playing. He's made a couple Pro Bowls, got him to the playoffs last year. I know his receivers were hurt. They were banged up as a team. JJ Watt was out, a lot of issues, but I mean, he basically held him hostage. And the Cardinals more worried about not having Kyler Murray than actually, I think, valuing him on what he was worth. And this is where we're at with quarterbacks. The fear of not having someone far exceeds the joy and the excitement of having that guy. So I think Kyler Murray was overpaid. I think if you go down the list, you could sit there, as you sit here, Tom Brady, older, Aaron Rodgers, I understand, older, Josh Allen, probably better. My goodness, I'd take Matt Stafford, over him. Deshaun Watson, off the field excluded, you take over him. I mean, I'm missing Lamar Jackson. I'm missing guys. Pat Mahomes, obviously. You can even argue he's different, but like Derek Carr-esque a little bit. I know he's fast. He's athletic. He's really small. And he's made some plays, and they've been pretty good. But like, I don't know if I could make the guy that high a paid quarterback. Because I think when you start getting into the deal and stripping away some of those weapons, you're going to struggle. And while Pat Mahomes got a monster $500 million deal, it's really a pretty team-friendly deal from a cap perspective. So they'll be able to keep that thing together. By the way, I mean, they just signed Ross from Cincinnati. So I think that might end up being a pretty good, well, I guess he was most recently with the Giants, but could be a good signing for them. But outside of that, Kyler Murray, paid a lot, going to have to now produce at a really, really high level. And I don't know if he's quite that good of a player that we're all giving him credit for. Maybe he grows into it, and I'm cheering for him. I like Kyler, by the way. This isn't anti-Kyler. It's just simply the fact of valuing guys. And just because you're next up doesn't mean you should be getting the next biggest bag of loot. It means that you should probably be getting what you are as a quarterback value-wise. And there's just probably 8 guys I could say I would for sure take over Kyler Murray this season. Into the future, like I said, Aaron, Tom, some of these guys are getting older, probably not, but there's always younger guys coming up. There's always guys getting better. Who knows how good Herbert will be as he continues to improve. He's looking pretty good. You got Russell Wilson in Denver, basically what you hope Kyler Murray can become, and Russell Wilson's already there. So there's just a lot of other options, a lot of other guys that you got to worry about and got to figure out. So that's what they're dealing with now in Arizona. But that wraps up this edition of Carps Corner. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment. Appreciate all the support. Appreciate everything. Going to continue trying to push this out. We're going to have training camp coming up. A lot of Buckeyes updates, a lot of Browns updates, Bengals with Joe Burrow. All of this is going to be coming to you as we finally will be getting real football for the first time in quite some time. So enjoy.